Hello, I'm Coercer, and we're watching games from ArtifactCup number 26, and we will now take a look at the second matchup in round 1, and these were played between BBI Iain and Hyper. Let's just load up the first replay. Now BBI Iain is the community manager from BBI, and he plays with us in the Artifact Cups from time to time, and Hyper is quite a good player as well. Well, I didn't mention BBI Iain is actually really good. And the first game will be played on Torin Crater. Hyper will be playing as the Kharak and BBI Iain as the Coalition. We'll be watching this one from Ian's perspective. Let's switch to production. So, Hyper has spawned up in the north as the Kharak forces. He is diligently producing salvagers, and BBI Iain is doing the same, producing salvagers and securing his resource location, while already sending out his base runner to the first artifact that is both closest to his extraction zone and closest to Hyper, launching a probe to see what's going on in Hyper's base, while Hyper is also positioning his base runner in the same manner, going for the artifact that's closest to the extraction zone and at the same time closest to Ian's forces. Now, Hyper is already expanding to his first bulkhead, while Iain is scouting around with a light attack vehicle. Let's see what the situation is. He is now fully saturated on his first base. It seems that he has just now produced the first salvager for his expansion, and Hyper is long-haul mining from his first bulkhead, and Iain is researching AAV fabrication. Now, these AAV fabrication builds are usually centered around getting those AVs out as soon as possible and just moving them directly into the enemy base. And the objective with that is, of course, to take out as many salvagers as possible and to disrupt the gameplay of your opponent. And the AVs are quite good for that. They can tank a lot of damage from the carriers, and they usually deal a lot of damage. Now Hyper has deployed his base runner in an aggressive position. He has built 2 blast drones and has managed to avoid that LAV, and those blast drones are now headed straight for Ian's resource line. If these LAVs don't manage to pick off these blast drones, Iain could be in a lot of trouble. Since Iain saw it coming, he is now splitting up his resources as well as he can, and the 2 blast drones managed to take out 2 salvagers. Well, that spread was quite good, if maybe a bit overkill, but all in all, Iain got through that quite well. With that AAV also on site, if you would position it between the Kharak base runner and his base, the AAV could slow down the blast drones considerably. But as it seems, the 2 LAVs have managed to scare off Hyper's base runner, and Iain is now on track to get his first artifact. Hyper is now apparently moving out with 2 production cruisers, and we will see what will come, what will be produced out of those. Currently just 2 skimmers escorting them, and these LAVs are now being quite a nuisance, and if Hyper doesn't produce any more blast drones, those LEVs have a good chance of taking down this base runner. Iain is now well on his way with his first AAV to Hyper's base, but this AV is quite low on health, so we'll see if it'll actually manage to deal any damage, or if Hyper is just going to use the missile system to take it out before it deals any appreciable damage. Hyper immediately moves his carrier to scare away the AV, but Hyper also has a force of protection cruisers and sand skimmers moving in on Iain's location, and Iain does not have any clue that this is happening. Let's see if these skimmers will be able to take out these salvagers. It's looking quite dire for Iain. Skimmers are focusing on salvagers, and Iain is recalling his AVs back to base to help protect the salvagers. The collision carrier has quite some power, but Iain still has just just invested one power into the turret network. And now the skimmers, since they're out of combat, will slowly regenerate their health. They'll probably come in again for another run. Just one salvager dead at the moment. Not exactly ideal. These skimmers could have taken out more units if these AVs weren't in Iain's base. But of course, since they're faster, they could outrun them and maybe try and take out the salvagers at the expansion. But Hyper is now producing assault railguns from his production cruisers. And assault railguns are quite good against AVs. With an armor upgrade, the assault railguns are able to take out AVs 1-to-1. So even without these armor upgrades, the assault railguns are quite capable in just kiting AAVs around. So if Hyper is able to take out BBI Iain's railguns, which have just been produced, he should be in quite a good position, quite comfortable, just camping out and taking out as many units at range as he can. And Hyper has succeeded in taking out one railgun, and now they're just AVs protecting his base. And Hyper is now trying to get as much damage in as he can without suffering heavy losses himself. But BBI Iain is now just moving in with his AVs, with his carrier, and just pushing out Hyper's attack. Now with railgun support, Hyper is probably in a bit of trouble. One of his heavy railguns, or was it assault railgun? No, that was a heavy railgun, is taken out. And now Hyper just needs to focus down the three railguns that Iain has, and Hyper will once again be in a good position to attack Iain's main base. That railgun barely getting away with its life, and Iain is now focusing on defending his position. He has opened his second bulkhead and will now probably begin long-haul mining from that location as well. Provided, of course, that Hyper doesn't just eliminate his position here in the main. Hyper is now rebuilding his skimmer force, only to reinforce the heavy railguns out on the field and to provide some distraction, so that BBI Iain's railguns would hopefully start shooting at the skimmers first, and then the heavy railguns can take out Iain's railguns. And now the skimmers are basically just acting as scouts and as a screen to protect Hyper's heavy railguns from Iain's LAVs. It's looking quite hairy at the moment for Hyper. He's losing his units to LAVs, to railguns, and to Iain's carrier. Iain's railguns are quite efficient at the moment, taking out units without being in danger themselves. But Hyper could really use those assault railguns here at the front. He did take out Iain's base runner that was carrying an artifact, but now he has lost his position here, where he could threaten Iain in his main base. Now, in the meantime, Hyper has been long haul mining all this time from his second bulkhead, and Iain is now looking to put on some pressure on Hyper's forces. Protection cruisers are building skimmers as they retreat, and the assault railguns will slowly pick off these pursuing LAVs. Iain is now just consolidating his position, trying to build up his forces, and also making sure that he isn't missing any of his salvagers. He just needs to rebuild one salvager and he'll be back on track in his main, and then he needs to build 3 more salvagers just to saturate his second bulkhead. Support cruiser is out for Iain, so that will boost the efficiency of his mining operation. Hyper is building up his economy.
Salvager online.
Exactly, yeah, he is building salvagers. So both players are now trying to get their economies fully on track, so they don't fall behind in any of these respects. But neither player producing any military units at the moment. Let's see if Iain is researching something. He has also already researched Power Reserve 2, so his cadet has quite some power reserves to play around with. But for now, only Hyper is producing a military unit, and he has an honor guard cruiser in production. Now, since he is playing Knef, I'm not sure if the honor guard cruiser is such a good idea. Perhaps a siege cruiser would be better, because Knef siege cruisers are quite good. They have a good AoE attack with their direct weapons, and they can provide large area denial with their barrage ability.
Support cruiser now operational.
Iain producing another support cruiser. He will probably move it. Yeah, he's moving it to his second bulkhead, and that will, of course, boost his economy once more. Let's see, he is now researching battle cruiser fabrication. Well, that is a odd choice. I guess he could probably just use his force of AVs and railguns to push in and at least see what Hyper is doing. Probably cause some damage. Battle cruisers take quite a while to research, and then they take a while to build, so that investment will not pay off for quite a while. While Hyper is building up a large force of sand skimmers. He has an honor guard cruiser on the field, has a couple of assault ray guns ready to support that force. Hyper also building some more heavy railguns. Iain is now looking to poke in to Hyper's base with these 2 AVs. One already has some veterancy, and hopefully he'll get a glimpse of this force, so he'll know what he's up against. Hyper scouting with a single sand skimmer to see what Iain is up to. He will see these railguns. Maybe he'll catch a glimpse of some of the expansion if Iain's carrier wouldn't have power spent into the turret network, and the skimmer dies immediately to the carrier's missiles. Let's see if these AVs will be able to do some damage to Hyper's resourcing. Hyper could use the missile system on the Knef carrier to damage these AVs. but Iain knows that if he parks them close to the Knaff carrier, the Knaff carrier cannot launch the missiles from the missile system. However, Hyper has powered up the close combat weaponry, and that is able to deal damage to those AAVs. Of course, Hyper's heavy railguns that he has out on the field make short work of those AAVs, and it seems that Hyper has lost 2 salvagers, which he will now have to rebuild, but that wasn't too bad. All in all, Iain being quite proactive with his base runners, he has picked up 2 artifacts and will now move them behind his railguns to see if he can safely move into the extraction zone. He is launching probes from his base runners to see what's going on out on the map, and also scouting ahead with 1 LAV. And that LAV will spot the sand skimmer and assault gun force from Hyper. It immediately turns back, but it probably won't survive this encounter, as sand skimmers immediately take it out. But Iain now at least knows that Hyper has a large force of sand skimmers ready to go, and Iain's battlecruiser is now out on the field. If the battlecruiser gets in range of any of Hyper's units, of course the battlecruiser will bring the pain and deal with Hyper's forces quite efficiently. The battlecruisers have a lot of health, have a lot of armor, they can take a punishment, and as long as Hyper can't get all of his railguns and underground cruisers to basically focus down the battlecruiser, the battlecruisers should pay off quite well. For Iain, they are supported by the railguns. He has 2 battlecruisers on the field, and the battlecruisers also have the smokescreen ability, so even when these railguns will spot the battlecruisers, they can pop out a smoke, block line of sight, and then move in closer for the kill. But Hyper is making it a bit easier for Iain, just moving in with his forces. The battlecruisers immediately take out the assault railguns, but are then left to fend for themselves against the heavy railguns and the honor guard cruisers from Hyper. Iain's railguns focusing down 1 honor guard cruiser almost immediately, while Iain's carrier advances forward to provide some fire support for his battle cruisers. Iain tried to shield his base runners so he could capture the next 2 artifacts, but he got scared by the heavier railguns and the honor guard cruiser, which could deal quite a lot of damage to his carrier, and Iain loses the heavily damaged battle cruiser. But he has 3 battle cruisers out on the field, which could tank a lot of damage for his carrier and for his railguns. We'll see if Hyper will be able to maybe snipe that battle cruiser, which should even out the engagement a bit more. But another battle cruiser pops out for Iain, and it immediately opens fire on Hyper's honor guard cruiser, and then a railgun finishes the job. Now Hyper has lost his heavy units, just railguns remaining out on the field, and Iain now knows he can move in with his carrier, with his battle cruisers, with the AAVs, and with his railguns in the back providing fire support. He will effectively take out the heavy railguns of Hyper, and Hyper has basically lost his forward army. He is rebuilding in the meantime. He has 5 heavy railguns in the back with another honor guard cruiser on the way, and just 2 missile batteries at Iain's extraction zone. Iain will of course move in his base runners with his artifacts, and then he will have a 4-0 artifact lead, and that will also boost his carrier's power reserves. That will make his carrier even scarier. Iain producing
Cruiser
a
now
support cruiser,
operational.
presumably to help heal his forward forces, but we'll see how this will play out.
Fleet logistics module
Iain
out.
redirecting
Base
some of
runner
his
assembled.
battle cruisers
Artifact recovered. Authentication
to the back,
confirmed.
apparently to try and cut off the retreat of Hyper's forces,
Artifact or failure people.
while
Artifact recovered. Authentication
that lone
confirmed.
battle cruiser that was sent ahead to scout is now in quite a bit of trouble. It has to pop smoke so it doesn't get
Missile
instigated by the
battery
heavy railguns,
operational.
and Iain is now retreating with his forces, scared of the combined firepower of the Hyper's heavy railguns and underground cruiser. Let's see
Proceed to rally point.
how Iain
Secure
will
location
respond to
marked.
this. He
We
has
have insufficient
a
CPU.
4-0 artifact lead, so he could presumably sit this one out, defend his base, defend his carrier, maybe use his base surrenders to pick up these artifacts so Hyper can't contest them,
Railgun online.
and then he could wait out the clock. There are now only 9 minutes, 9 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock. So if Hyper doesn't pull off some extremely offensive play, Iain is quite safe at the moment. He has
See you
how many
deposit
battle cruisers?
complete.
Three battle cruisers and a large force of railguns, as well as his powered up carrier, which can deal a lot of damage.
Be advised. Team en route to recover
There we
the
go.
artifact. We do
And
not have
he's
enough
using
RU.
his base surrenders to pick up all 3 artifacts. Now I assume that this one will not make it very far. As soon as it picks up the artifact, Hyper will probably divert the assault railguns to take it out.
Strike fighter online.
This is a smart play by Iain, by picking up those artifacts. He's basically denying them to Hyper.
Team en route
Even if the
to
base
recover
runners
the artifact.
get killed,
Strike fighter ready
Hyper
for
then has to
service.
wait for the
Strike fighter
artifacts
online.
to respawn. So it does look like Hyper's only real chance to win this decisively is by destroying Iain's carrier. But it's looking like this will be a very tough nut to crack. 3 battle cruisers ready to defend.
Logistics module out.
The carrier sitting
We lack sufficient
in the back,
RU.
and Iain is now also putting some points to reactive armor. Iain also researching Power Reserve 5, which will not only add more power to the carrier, but will also unlock the cruise missile
Strike
ability.
fighter ready for service. Strike
And
fighter online.
of course, since Hyper seems to have a bit of a clumped up army,
Weapon systems online.
if Iain gets a good shot off and manages to take out this
Light
force
attack
with the
vehicle
cruise
in
missile,
service.
Hyper is going to lose, sadly. Iain has in the meantime built up
Weapon systems online.
2 wings
Weapon range
of strike
systems
fighters,
offline.
and is now just waiting
RU deposit
for the right
completed.
time
Weapon systems online.
to move
Carrier
out
warning. Heat
and
level
attack
spiking. Reroute power to avoid
Hyper's
damage.
position. Now as soon as the power reserve research finished, he has boosted up his carrier's defenses, and that will make his carrier extremely tanky, and it should withstand any kind of pot shots from the heavy railguns, the underguard cruiser, as long as Hyper doesn't exclusively target down Iain's carrier. But Iain's carrier now has 100 armor, and that will be quite tough to crack. Battle cruisers are there to support Iain's carrier, and they immediately open fire on the assault railguns. Iain launches his nuke and eliminates most of Hyper's forces.
Strike fighter coordinates confirmed.
Hyper now scrambling interceptors to take out as much of Iain's army as he can, but the ground war is now most definitely lost for Hyper, and Iain
Friendly vehicle
has an
in possession
artifact
of an artifact.
close to the extraction zone. There is nothing on the ground to contest Iain and that honor guard cruiser gets taken out by the battle cruisers. All Iain has to do now is just move in his base runner to the extraction zone, and he wins by capping out the 5 artifacts, which he is of course in the process of doing. Hyper desperately trying to kill the base runner with interceptors. There is AA out on the field for Iain, and interceptors get... Ooh! Wow. Hyper actually manages to take out Iain's base runner, and now what seemed like a sure victory, and like a one game for Iain, can now still be quite problematic if Hyper continues to take out these lone railguns that Iain is leaving out on the map, or these clumped up railguns, and Hyper knows he has to take out as many units as he possibly can before Iain can reach his position. Unfortunately, Hyper's carrier is very underpowered. He has just 1 power, and that's in close combat weaponry, and as soon as Iain reaches Hyper with his powered up carrier, Hyper's carrier will just melt, especially if Iain launches a nuke, which he just did. But he actually went for the resourcing operation of Hyper, so Hyper's carrier is still alive, but Iain's battle cruisers are in range, they're opening fire, and Hyper's carrier is just melting away from the sheer firepower that is being leveled against him. And there we go. Wow. Well, Hyper did quite well. He had quite a few windows of opportunity where he could punish Iain, and basically succeeded in keeping Iain on his side of the map at the start of the game, but then was pushed out by Iain's forces, and of course as soon as those battle cruisers appeared on the map, Iain could basically push around Hyper's forces. But if Iain didn't have that cruise missile to take out most of Hyper's railguns there at that extraction point, that engagement could have gone quite differently, and Iain obviously knew what he was doing there. Wow, this was a very interesting game, so let's see what happens in game number 2.